Welcome into Rounding the Bases.
Round the bases. Everybody knows Joel Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joel Goldberg.
Hey everybody, welcome into another episode of Rounding the Bases, presented by Community America Credit Union, invested in you. So excited for my guest today, and we will introduce her in just a moment. A shout out to my friends at Chief of Staff Kansas City, whether you're here in Kansas City or all around the country for that matter. Or I know there's some people listening around the world. Not sure if they can help you around the world unless you're coming to the States, but if you're looking for a great resource in terms of looking for a job, looking to hire someone, or just someone that cares about people and culture and leadership and all the things that I believe in, check them out on their website, chiefofstaffkc.com, making connections that matter. My connection today came from a previous guest, Ashley McClellan, and I always ask my guests, hey, who do I need to interview? Who do I need to know? It's a great way to meet more people and bring great content to you. And so that's how I ended up with my guest today. I'm going to be joined by a construction industry executive whose love of building projects can only be topped by her passion for building relationships. Her name is Courtney Kounkel, the founder and owner of Monarch Build. Using a solid foundation of teamwork and trust, her company has reshaped the way people think about general contractors, delivering more than an aspirational measure of excellence, but a commitment to partnership that endures even after the job is complete. What I hear when I read that, and a credit to my amazing executive assistant, executive producer Ashley Stir for all the research and the writing that she does. But when I hear that, as someone that knows nothing about construction, as someone that breaks things, doesn't fix things or build things, I hear the people side of it, the relationship side of it. And that's what I say about baseball, because you know what? I can't hit a fastball or throw a curveball either, but it is a relationship business. And I'm happy to be joined right now by Courtney, because really, Courtney, in the end, it always, no matter what the profession, comes down to the people side. And that's clearly the way you are as well. I don't even need to ask you if I'm right on that one, because I think it's the secret that makes the world go round. But I'll get your thoughts on that as I welcome you in Rounding the Bases.
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you for having me. Super thrilled to be here. But yeah, no, relationships, we've talked a little bit about Kansas City. It's kind of the small, big town, right? So or whatever that, small town, big city,
yep.
Vice versa. It doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying is,
yep.
Without the relationships in Kansas City, it's such a small city that I think if you don't keep doing the right thing all the time, no matter what, it doesn't matter what your industry is, you can't be successful.
And I think that's true in any city. I really do. Like, it's funny when we get to our neck of the woods, flyover country, as others maybe call it. I don't know that we see it that way, or if we do see it that way, we like it. We like a little bit of the anonymity, I think, in our big city. Or I agree with you. I don't know the right way to say that. It's like when you say introverted, extroverted, introvert. I'm not really sure what it is, but we know what we're saying. This is a big, small city, or however you want to put it. And I think, when you get to the bigger cities, the New Yorks, the LAs, the Chicagos, and all of that, it's still going to come down to pockets of those same relationships. I think it's a little bit easier to build them here. Yet it takes work every single day. What about in the construction industry? I've always thought that no matter what field you're in, there have to be differentiators. You might do things differently than your competition, but in the end, a lot of times those relationships are the differentiator, because they're going to trust you and they're investing in the work that you're going to be doing. How much of that is part of your focus, and has that always been the case for you?
I would say it's to some level always been the case for me, but I definitely learned over time. I grew up in Kansas City. I tried to get as far away from the city as I possibly could after I went to school in Colorado, and then I actually lived overseas for 2.5 years. But by doing that, I really found that Kansas City was a fabulous place to live and raise a family. But the relationship, so I don't know, I kind of forgot your original question. So that out.
Well, yeah, just about, maybe at what point you figured out that, like, for me, nobody ever getting into television, and I know television and construction feel like they'd be in totally different worlds usually, unless you're doing some home improvement show, or I don't know, but no one ever taught me in school that the key to staying in this business for 30 years was the people part, the relationships, the trust. And I'm guessing that, you know, as you were going to school or even living overseas and all of that, that wasn't really the focus either. There comes a certain point, I think, that in our careers that we find this. Was there an aha moment for you?
Yeah, well, so hey, you just remind me what it was. So I mean, construction isn't very complicated. I mean, and really honest, I wish I could tell you that it's changed a ton in my 30 years in construction, but it's still bricks and mortar. And I know there's a lot of technology that's new and different and more efficient ways to communicate. But the reality is it 100% comes back to those relationships, and it's how you treat people, both internally within your organization, but externally too, and how we treat our clients. And so I think that's a big differentiator for us. You know, our core values are about being an accountable leader, being trustworthy, and really having unwavering commitment to make sure that our projects get the attention and the end result they want. And so, you know, that was something that I didn't know that was so important when I moved back to Kansas City, but having those roots as a kiddo, you know, and now having those people that I grew up with be clients, and knowing that they trust me because they know me and they know that I will always do the right thing, and that my team knows that doing the right thing is the most important thing we could do above all else, I think has really resonated with clients and people doing construction projects. Most of our clients, I shouldn't say most, but say half of our clients probably build once. You know, they're not repetitive clients. That's just the nature of the construction industry. Or they're doing it every 10 years. They do a big project. They sign a lease, they have a new 10-year lease, and they build a project. And so they don't know who to go to. It's not like something Starbucks you go get every morning, right? I mean, so you've got to kind of continue to keep those relationships top of mind and keep kind of winning them over.
I want to talk about that before we get into your company, because this is something I've been focusing on a lot. And, you know, being a newer entrepreneur in the last 8 years with my speaking business, the one similarity I see to what you're talking about now, I'm just delivering a keynote speech to associations, companies, annual meetings, and all that, is typically when you're done, they're not bringing you back next year. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 3 years, most likely never, because they're moving on to the next one and the next one. It's so easy to let go of that relationship, right? Because there is no matter what we say, there is always a transaction involved. But the best ones are the ones that just keep on building and leading to other things. I know that's the case for you, because a job well done and a good experience is going to lead to other jobs. How do you process all of that? Because I've got to think that so much of your business comes from what happens after you finish a good job.
Gosh, word of mouth, right? I mean, so that, you know, they always say the best referral is your client that you've done a really good job for, or your worst is the one who didn't do a really good job for, right? Does more damage. But yeah, no, I mean, again, like when we have a client that's really happy, we're done with the project, but it's an Ashley McClellan. I mean, that you mentioned, you know, how I got here was a referral from her, but she was a client, you know, we were friends first and then she became a client. We built Sojourn Spa for her. And she's then been an incredible referral partner for us, and helping us bring in, you know, get opportunities with new clients, but then vice versa, right? I mean, I am constantly going to be a cheerleader for her in both MedCurate and in Sojourn. I think that's just what people do for each other when they have good experiences.
Yeah, and same. I mean, that's where I'm learning to be in that equation too. My experience with Ashley, and Ashley, I know you're listening, so a shout out to you. It's not a quid pro quo type of thing. If you do this, I'll do this. It just, you want to help people that want to help you, or even taking it a step further, just want to help them and see where it takes you. And it could take you to some really interesting places. You and I are just having this conversation, but it could go to some really cool places. We don't know that, other than we know a lot of the same type of people. And that is the difference maker to me, provided that your work speaks for itself. And obviously it does, then people are going to speak for you on that. All right, I want to go backwards here. How did you get into all this?
So it's funny. I just did a speaking engagement where I had to tell my story, which was funny. I thought most people knew it, so I was very surprised that people didn't. So I actually have an architecture degree. So I went to the University of Colorado. Thought I wanted to be an architect. I ended up spending my senior year of college overseas. and really found up my love for the built environment, but really discovered that I was not going to be the best architect, that I was probably more, engineer brained. So as I came back to the US, I really just told everybody who would listen to me this dilemma I had, which, by the way, I came back in the late 90s. Every architecture firm was hiring. This town was booming. I could have gotten a job anywhere, not because I was amazing, because they needed, warm bodies and seats. But I just didn't want to take them. And I was at a holiday party, and I mentioned to some guy I did not know at all that I had this issue. And he called me a week later. This was back when we had, landlines, right? And I got a voicemail from him that said, hey, I met you at this holiday party. Give me a call. I did not call him back because I thought he was hitting on me. I knew he was married and older and was like, that's awkward. He calls a week later, leaves another message and says, that was awkward. I have a feeling that didn't come off right. I have a job idea for you. So the quick fast forward is he introduced me to a construction company. He's like, I know this is what you should do for a living. And here I am today. That company hired me, and I spent my first 5 years learning from them, which was incredible.
So let me go here then. And Ashley was telling me, ask Courtney anything. She's an open book, which I love. But
True.
This is oftentimes the elephant in the room, although hopefully less and less nowadays. Although sometimes I'm feeling like more and more is that gender divide, certainly in traditional male-dominated industries like yours. Mine in the past has been too. That is changing, certainly. I mean, shoot, now we can look into a Major League Baseball dugout and see women in there. And by the way, the players don't think twice about it. This is the way they've been raised, and it's normal to them, which is progress to me. But when I think of the construction world, we're thinking of men. I know it's not as simple as that. What was that like navigating for you, or still navigating for you, or was that even ever an issue?
So funny. I didn't even know it at the time, to be honest. I was kind of a naive, 20 something. But the first company I worked for was actually majority woman owned, which meant nothing to me. I did not realize that was the most crazy thing on the planet. Now, there weren't a lot of women in the industry at that point. And, we're still not 50-50, but we've made a lot of progress. I think for me, it was good that I started somewhere that nobody cared, because there was mostly women there. Again, I didn't know, but I think I was trained early that I just belonged there and there was no gender difference. You learn over time. As I grew in my career, I definitely was more lonely, more often the only woman at the table in meetings. But I've told lots of women this, you kind of have a choice, right? You can be offended when they whistle at you on a job site, and you can make that a thing, or you can just say, maybe they're complimenting me, and take it in a positive way. And so I think in construction and being unique, I guess, initially as a woman, I chose to make it my superpower rather than make it something that made me different and not fit in.
That's interesting. I mean, I tell so many young aspiring broadcasters, man or woman for that matter, in an industry that is can be so focused on a certain look. By the way, I don't think I ever had that look, and I made it, and that's not even being self-deprecating. I just was always who I was, and this is what it is, and I'm thankful that I'm in a place in Kansas City that has worked really well, and I'm able to be myself. But I tell everybody, like, you got to do whatever you can in terms of connections and relationships to get into the industry. I have a lot of people that'll say to me, well, I don't want to have it handed to me, so I know this person. No, take every single connection you get, but then it is up to you to stay. So yes, as you said, you're just owning it, and fine, maybe this is a superpower, but in the end, you still have to do the work. And if you do the work and you do the relationships and everything that I know that your company and that you believe in so much, it's plastered all over your website in the best of ways, that when you do that and you live up to who you say you're going to be and you do the good work, you're going to stay. Like that's ultimately what it boils down to. So if there's a superpower or a difference that gets you in there, great. But ultimately, over the long haul, your work and your reputation is going to win out. I mean, I firmly believe that in everything. Has it become, if you were naive when it started, which was a great way to be a little bit naive. Sometimes it's nice to be young and naive, right? At what point did you come to understand that, you know what, this is where I belong, I'm good enough, and on and on and on, because you've obviously had a great career?
Yeah, I mean, I think after that, I went to a company that was just a startup at the time, and as I succeeded there, and was promoted, that gives you the confidence, right? I mean, then that other people are recognizing that you're in the right place. I loved it too. I mean, it was a really good project manager. I look back at that and think, God, I could have done that forever. I ended up really being an entrepreneur. Out of circumstance. I really didn't, as you said, you didn't kind of initially start to think you were going to be an entrepreneur. You had another career that then this pivoted. I really pivoted to being an entrepreneur out of a situation, which turned out really good for me. But that also too was an opportunity. When I started my first company, this is my second company that I started. When I started my first company, I had no idea what I was doing. Right? I mean, you're learning it all. And I had two business partners that none of us had done it before. We all came out of big companies and started it together. And you learn a lot, the biggest lessons you learn are the ones that were tough, but yeah.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Do you know what I wanted to be? Was a stay-at-home mom. Dead
Really?
serious. I always thought I was going to just stay home and raise my kids. I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know why that was my mindset, but yeah, I would have been a horrible stay-at-home mom. My kids had a 1-year non-compete in between selling Centric and starting Monarch. And by like month 11, my kids were like, could you get out of here? Like, this is how quick can you get out of this house?
They were going to make sure they knew your place. Mom, we love you. You're a great mom. You are not a stay-at-home mom. That's so crazy though, because you're the exact opposite of a stay-at-home mom, but also a mom, right? A very busy working mom. I can relate to that. My mom was the same way. She started as a stay-at-home mom. I wrote about her in my most recent book. And now, different generation. I mean, I've said this many times before on this podcast. She was told coming out of college in the 60s that women could be teachers or nurses. So she chose teacher somewhere along the way. And then when my brother and I were born, she became that stay-at-home mom, went back to school, became at the time it was called a computer programmer, but ultimately a coder. And eventually, as the company she worked for was bought out by the big banks and the bigger banks and the bigger banks, she was traveling around the world in upper management and leadership, and nothing that she could have ever imagined. And it was incredibly gratifying. How do you balance, if there is such a thing? Everybody has a different take on this. Not just moms, by the way. I'm working on it every day. How do you balance the work-life balance thing?
Yeah, I have the same. Like, I don't ever use the word work-life balance, because I think it's just managing all of it at the same time. A couple ways, really. I have an incredible husband, so I think finding a partner that helps you juggle it, so that they're doing the parts you can't do. But I think kind of finding my piece, that I can't do both excellent at the same time. And so I just can be excellent at one of them and pretty good at the other, or vice versa. And so I think at first that really bothered me, that I would, was doing really great at work and maybe missing a couple things at home, or vice versa. And I think I just came to say that's okay. Like, my kids will tell you today, they wouldn't have wanted their childhood any other way. They think we were great parents and that everything worked out in a good way, and we weren't perfect, but also perfection's not realistic. Nobody is perfect.
I love that. And it so deeply resonates with me. I mean, yes, I couldn't do what I've done without my wife, but even, the kids too. It's like, I'm living in a really different world, just in the sense that not a lot of people get to do what I do. It is a total privilege if you love sports, but my kids don't know any other way. Like, this is just normal. And I don't know what they would do if I was working a 9 to 5 and coming home on the way. I mean, I'm sure they love it and all that type of thing, right? But like, this is what they grew up with, just like your kids grew up with it. And it works if it could become normal. It works when you have that support around you. And so it's, I don't know what work-life balance is either, other than we found the balance that works for us. And every now and then you have to readjust it a little bit. But what, how did you go from transitioning into creating Monarch, and what did that take? I always love asking entrepreneurs what it takes to make that jump, because it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, well, so my first company I started was in 2010, which was Centric. And so, like I mentioned that before, is, I learned a lot of lessons, right? I learned about what we did well, what we could have done better. So starting Monarch was a lot less of an unknown, and I'd done it before, and I was really just starting the exact same, not the exact same company, but the same type of company again. I think the first time I took the leap from, getting a regular paycheck to being an entrepreneur was really just because I saw an opportunity in a company, like the company I was at was making transition in leadership. And it just seemed like that was the right time for me to do something different. And the opportunity came to start a company. And so, there's really no magic. Again, it wasn't like I wrote a business plan and thought about it for 5 years, and it just, timing was right. Monarch was definitely more planned because I knew what I didn't like about my previous partnership and company, that I knew I could tee this one up in a way that really focused on my core values. That was something that, I'm Ashley told you I'm pretty open book. Sorry, my light went off. I was actually kicked out of my previous company, for what it's worth. So I was a founding partner, and about 6.5 years into that, I kind of went to my partners and said, I don't agree with a lot of things you're doing in terms of kind of my morals and ethics. And it never occurred to me, but 30 days later, they exited me based on that. And, it was hard. I mean, it took a huge hit to my self-esteem, and it really your self-worth. You go, what happened? I will tell you, kind of back to the Kansas City conversation we had, people came out of the woodwork, people I barely knew or didn't know, to just hold me up and say, hey, you're a great person. You've done a great job. Like, this isn't you. It was really kind of shocking. But boy, did I need it. And it really helped me get clarity to say, hey, I can do this again. Like, I did it on my own. I didn't do it on my own before, but I could do it on my own now. So yeah, I mean, I learned a lot, but it sure did make starting Monarch easier because I had the baseline of the kind of basic stuff.
That had to have been really eye-opening for you too. I mean, it's easy right now to look back on it. It's easy for you and I to have a conversations that has been very much rooted in relationship building and trust, to look back and say, well, of course everybody had your back. You built all those relationships. Why wouldn't they be? That's a trust fall is all that is, not one that you were voluntarily taking either, right? I mean, you don't know what's going to be there to catch you. And suddenly to know that you have this whole network of people that are going to be there to support you, believe in you, give you that confidence. What did that mean to you? You already talked a little bit about what it meant to you, but what was that revelation like to understand that you had this base, this foundation?
I mean, I think it was reassuring that just like all the work I had done to help other people along the way, that it was paying back, and it wasn't necessarily the same people, but it was just the reminder that investing in other people, even if there's no payback to you, is actually a payback to me, by the way, because you feel great. And that's probably more important than actually getting business or connections for something in the future. But yeah, no, I mean, I there's a whole list of people I could give you that just, I'm here today because they took the time to reach out and say, hey, you're a great person and who knows what really happened, but we're here to support you in whatever your next endeavor is. I mentioned before, I had a 1-year non-compete that came with that sale. My husband would be like, where have you been all day? Because I had no job, right? And I'm like, oh, I coffeed, I lunched, I happy hour. And he's like, for what? I'm like, because that's what I'm going to do this year. I'm just going to network like crazy, not for anything for me in the future, but this is my chance to really have enough time to invest in other people and make connections that I have no win, no lose, right? So why not do it? It was so rewarding for me. It was great for my mental health just to be out and connected with people. And then what I hadn't thought about is in the long run, those relationships are helpful to me now too. So
I was never in those shoes, but I know that when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, and we realized very quickly that there was not going to be much of a baseball season, and I'm panicking and freaking out over, well, I'm about to start that period when I start to get paid over 6 months, and that's about to not happen. Well, thank goodness I started this speaking, but nobody's hiring speakers. And I took this podcast, still in its somewhat early stages too, and without quite sponsorship yet. And I started doing one every day. Not all of them even appear on the platform right now, but I just started doing one in some version live every day on Facebook. to try to promote other people's businesses. And worst case, it helped others, and it was an opportunity to connect with others. And I don't know where any of that led, other than it felt good to do that, right? Like there was no, if I do this for you, you have to do this for me. It was just like, let me see if maybe we can help some people out. And I continue to see that every single day now, that you can never go wrong by trying to help others. Now, you want to be smart about it, right? I mean, you can only do so much, and you have to pick your spots. But I think that's the heart of it. That should be at least where you start, is where can I give, to who can I give, what makes the most sense, and see where it goes. I think, again, that's universal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually just today had to say no to joining a nonprofit's, and not even their board, a committee, kind of leadership position of their committee. But to your point of like, it feels so good to give back, but it also feels terrible when you've committed to something, you don't have enough bandwidth to do the level of commitment that you want to. So, but I think that's the beauty of Kansas City too. There's so many people that are giving. If not me, there'll be 12 other people that can do it.
Well, and that's been a hard thing to learn, at least for me. I'm a people pleaser, is how to say no. But to your point, and what I always think about is it going to be easier to say no now or later? Because if ultimately it's going to end up in no, it gets a lot harder to do it later and back out of what you committed to doing. And so that's always the good. Not everything's a fit. Not everything aligns in terms of your time, in terms of your family, and all those type of things. The last thing before I get to my baseball themed questions, and then we'll have some 4 final questions about random things, including projects, maybe favorite projects, that type of stuff as well. But when I look through your website, and by the way, if people want to learn more, you can go to Courtney's company's website, monarch.build. It's as simple as that. It says, we are, right at the top, get to know us. We are relationship makers. It's a deal breaker. So my question for you, as everything is so rooted in relationships, is what percentage now of your time are you still spending working on those relationships? You've got a company to run as well. As one thing to be able to do all of that, coffees and lunches, and sometimes probably 2 coffees in a day and 1 lunch and 2 happy hours, right? Like where you're just going like mad. You don't have time to do that anymore. So how do you find the right time to do that?
Probably do more of it than you think, because there's a lot of hours in the day. It's not 8. But so I bet 50% of my time at least is spent on building relationships, internally and externally. What helped a lot was I finally hired someone to do business development. So that helps. So that's been, not quite 2 years, but that's been amazing. Yeah.
And last thing regarding that too, the Monarch culture. There's the other word that's sprinkled throughout the website. What is the Monarch culture?
Do the right thing always. And I love to say, truth is easy to remember, because so that's what I really want our team to just always do the right thing, even if it's painful, even if it's expensive. But if we just always do what's right, we're gonna again, I joke, it's the long game, it's not a short game. So if we're just continue to do the right thing, and everyone knows that they will not be ridiculed for doing something that costs money, but it was the right thing for the client or a trade partner.
Yeah. The long game, that's the key to everything, but that's a whole nother story, or maybe all of this.
Whole other podcast for you.
Yeah, that's right. Let me get to the baseball theme questions, and it's similar type of stuff, but let's begin with the home run. What's the biggest home run that you have hit in your career?
Working for the Kansas City Current. I mean, that was the greatest home run I never saw coming. I got a call one day that said, hey, there's this professional team. I can't tell you anything about it, but would you want to work on it? Hey, and by the way, your high school classmate is the owner of the team. So I knew pretty quick that's what it was. But working with Kansas City Current, Angie and Chris Long, has been by far the highlight of my career.
Yeah. What they have done in this town and what they continue to do is just truly remarkable. And I had them on my podcast back at a time where they were still working on a name for the new team. So they were unnamed at that point, and the stadium was not quite in the works. And so for anyone, by the way, I'll give them a shout out. I don't know that they need it with the kind of attendance that they get at their matches, but if you really want to truly experience something that is unique, but also feels very Kansas City, go to one of those matches. I mean, I'll let you speak to this, Courtney, because we haven't been this year as you and I are recording. I'm eyeballing. Chris, if for some reason you listen to this, you're going to be getting a call from me. But I'm eyeballing as soon as baseball is over. I think there are a couple matches before postseason starts that we want to get over. We went to 4 last year, and every single one was just such a cool experience. How about for you?
Oh, I go to every match. I mean, it's so much fun. I could not echo more what you said better. The matches are incredible, but I always say, their vision to build a stadium is incredible, but the reality is it couldn't be successful without people showing up. And boy, does Kansas City showed up. I always tell people, we can be proud of Chris and Angie, which we need to be because they've made an incredible financial investment, but we should be equally as proud as Kansas Cityans. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, like they could spend all the money in the world, but if people didn't commit to it and engage and show up, but those matches are insane. I mean, just the amount of people that come, the seats are full, they're all in current gear. It's been incredible what they've pulled off. And, you kind of said locally, but I would tell you they've changed the NWSL. I mean, how the league is seen. And then now to be overseas, I lived in Copenhagen. So when they bought the team in Denmark, I'm like, it's my team. I felt connected even more.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, it's one of the things that when anybody comes to town and they're looking for something to do, I'll certainly recommend that if there's anything available. But if we're driving by that stadium, they're going to get the whole speech from me. First all women's venue around the world, and so to me, it's such a proud thing. It's the same type of pride that I have when I talk about the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and now I'm on that board because it is something unique to the world that happens to be right here in our city. And the job they've done, the branding, the soccer, by the way, is spectacular. And they might have the best player in the world, too, in Temla Chawinga. So I know this wasn't meant to be a soccer podcast, but I guess all I would say is you don't even need to know anything about soccer. If you go to one of their matches and you look out and say, pick out who's the best player in the world, you'll find her real quickly. I'm sure you have the same feeling on that one.
She's the fastest human being I've ever seen in my life, anywhere, in any sport, in anything. Yeah, I agree.
Just remarkable. Okay, how about a swing and a miss, and what did you learn from it?
So I kind of already hit on it. So I think starting my first company was a little bit of a swing and a miss because although there was a lot of success in the company initially, the miss was I didn't value my own core values and my own, what I believed in enough. And so that was such a great lesson for me. Although it was a swing and a miss and it didn't work out for a long time, it really rooted me in what was important to me. So when I started my next company, I actually started this company with a partner and really quickly I identified a challenge. And, because I was willing to kind of hit that head on because I had learned previously, that person voluntarily exited themselves, which was great. So like I said, I think some of the best lessons we learn are when things don't go well. And so you got to have those.
That's the only way that they become good lessons is if you learn from them. And so totally agree with that. It makes it a productive swing and a miss, or sometimes in baseball, we'll call it a productive out. Last question is really a culture question. I know we've talked about that a lot. It was meant to be a culture question when I came up with it years ago. Small ball, the little things that don't show up on the sales sheet. Again, we probably just did a whole podcast on small ball, which is very on brand for what I do. But what is small ball to you?
I think small ball is being authentic, consistent, which I think I do really well. And then I think just being genuinely open about experience, because I think it's amazing when I even saw your face when I told you I got kicked out of my own company. It's kind of the shock. And I think that shock, though, is how other people learn that their situation isn't all that bad. I mean, I say all the time, when a friend will call me and say, hey, I got fired, like they're so mortified. I'm like, I got fired from a company I owned. So I can beat that.
Well, it maybe brings us a little closer to when you start to realize it's not just you, and then back to your point from before too, when you suddenly realize you have a lot of people there with you that are there for you, really becomes again another growth opportunity and a comforting one. All right, 4 final questions as we round the bases. I had this all lined up, so you might need to go with a second answer of favorite project. So we had your home run project, but how about one that maybe isn't as famous or well known, or just something that just, I'm sure they all feel good because when you finish them, job well done, right? And making a lot of impact. But was there one that hit you differently?
Yeah, I've got another one. So I do a lot of work for nonprofits, which is great. Monarch has, and all my career has. But one in particular was the Ronald McDonald House, Longfellow House. And it's a long time ago, actually. I was pregnant with my first kiddo when we built that house. But what really hit me differently is I was at McCown Gordon at the time. It was like kind of a first big project for them to win. And then probably 3 or 4 months into that project, my niece was diagnosed with cancer. And my brother lived here, so they didn't have to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. But it was just really kind of life-changing, to be honest, for me to see families at Children's Mercy staying at the Ronald McDonald House while I'm working on building more houses for them, and really see the impact that was going to make. And I think that really solidified my desire to do good in the community in terms of working up for nonprofits and helping build, the things that I think help make Kansas City such a great city. But I think seeing it firsthand was really impactful for me.
That's great. Second question, as we round the bases, you talked about Denmark. I feel like I'm getting hit with, I've never been to Denmark. I've been to Norway. I've got a cousin that lives there. Close. So close-ish. I mean, closer than most.
Water still, but
right, you got right. But at least, Scandinavian. So I've never been there. I'd love to get there one day, but I feel like I've been getting hit with that a lot. Ashley McClellan was telling me she's got an exchange student from Denmark.
Who knew?
One of my son's best friends that he went to high school with just finished up playing college ball and is now overseas playing professionally in Denmark. So I just feel like it's being hit a lot. Most of us, though, have never been. Most will probably never get the opportunity to go. What was your favorite thing about Denmark?
The summer was fabulous. Winters are tough because it's so far north, just to warn you. So if you're going to visit in the summer. But there's a garden there called the Tivoli, and it's absolutely fabulous. So that's definitely up there in my top rankings. But it's just a beautiful country. By the way, it's tiny. I mean, it's a tiny country. Yeah. So the fact that it keeps coming up says a lot about them.
Yeah. I'm sure the people are great, I would assume.
Everyone's super nice. Yeah. They love their lives. I mean, they really are. It's a really beautiful and kind country.
Kind is nice. We all could use more of that. That's a whole different story for a different day. It comes up from time to time on this podcast. We could all be doing better with that. But again, we'll stick to wherever my mind is going right now. So third question, as we round the bases, this is just some of the fun research that Ashley does for me. I've got on my list here was a rock climber in high school and college. Is that accurate? And I don't know if any of that is still going on, but where did that love, obsession, whatever we want to call it, begin for a Kansas City kid?
Yeah, it is true. So I used to Cliff Drive, which if you went there now, I used to joke it's kind of like marbleized now because there's nowhere to climb, so all the holds are smooth. So in high school, I just had a group of friends that we all started rock climbing, mostly in gyms, but we did go to Cliff Drive, which I saw your face. It was a little dangerous.
That's scary to me.
Some of our friends got shot at, but that's, they're fine. And then in college, I went to school in Boulder. So it was lots of great rock climbing there. I do not climb anymore, but I did get my oldest into rock climbing. So cool. My oldest kiddo is very much a rock climber and is a setter at the climbing gym here.
Super cool. Probably falls for me under like jumping out of an airplane. It's not going to happen unless I'm pushed. And so probably just not going to happen. I'm just, I'll go for a good hike and I'll look at the people that might be doing it. And that's about as good as it gets for me. Although you want me to go hike around the Boulder area in Colorado, you picked one of the most beautiful universities and areas in the country. I think we all can agree with that one. Yeah, I love it out there. Okay, final question. The walk-off. I'm not going to ask you if there's a project that you want to work on because you're constantly working on that type of stuff. But what about for the young up-and-comers? You talk about mentoring and you talk about a lot of your charitable work. And I find like there's especially nowadays, such a hard world for young kids that are getting in. I mean, for me, it starts with build the relationships, the network, everything that we've talked about. But what other advice would you give to somebody young, whether male or female, that wants to get into your industry and entrepreneurship for that matter?
Say seek mentors. I cannot tell you, I think I had mentors that I didn't seek, but found me in a way. Some I, found on my own. But I think people genuinely love to give back to other people. It's so easy to have a 30-minute conversation with somebody and learn a lot. In that 30 minutes, you may find out you have a connection. You'd mentioned earlier about, people who don't want to give into them. It's not having it given to you if somebody just helps you make a connection. You still have to get the job. You still have to interview well. So I think just finding mentors is super helpful. And I do have a project that I want to do, by the way.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, who doesn't want to help build Royals, new stadium, wherever it may be, or if it stays, but regardless, like this town, I mean, we need answers. We need to know where things are going. It's really messing with development in our town.
Yeah. I think it's getting closer. I have no more insight than you do or anybody else at this point, other than to say a stadium is coming. That part I know.
Yeah.
You don't need to be that smart, by the way, to figure that one out. The two certainties that I tell everyone, whether they like it or not, because people sometimes, go to the extremes, is they are not staying where they're at and they're not moving out of Kansas City. And when I say Kansas City, I'm not talking about which side of the state line. I'm talking about they're not going to Nashville or anywhere like that. They will be here in this region, in the Kansas City metro, and they will not be at Kauffman Stadium. And everything else in between, I'm waiting on answers as well. They'll be coming, and hopefully, Courtney, Monarch has involvement in that one. That would be really cool. And so I'm glad that you spoke up on that one. So great to be able to have you on Rounding the Bases. I want to encourage everybody, again, to go to the website just to see more. And you'll see some of the projects they've done and so much of what Courtney and her people believe in. Monarch.build. Really appreciate you spending time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
Everybody knows Joel Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joel Goldberg.